Hello, and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Jo Wheatley, and my friend and co host, Zoe Hawkins.
Hi, everybody. Good to be with you this week. And this week, we're going to bring you something a bit different that we've not done on the podcast before. And we're going to share with you a coaching demonstration from our Emotions Coaching Practitioner Programme. And Jo has volunteered to be the coachee. I'm going to be the coach. And we're using an activity that we've created called the Emotion Coaching Model, which is a semi structured conversation to support your clients through exploring their emotions related to a specific context or topic. And we wanted to bring this to you today as an example of how you can hold safe and ethical conversations about emotions and support clients with exploring those. So that's what we've got in store. Anything you'd like to add, Jo?
So, for those of you that have been listening to the podcast for a while, or you know our business, which is called In Good Company, not Coaching Crowd, our emotions coaching practitioner training has 6 different core principles in it, and each of those principles have 2 coaching activities that bring those principles to life and can be used with clients. And the demo that we're going to be going through today comes from the very first principle, which is that emotions are neither good nor bad. And the example that I'm going to be sharing is a really good example of like where a client is working on a goal in their coaching and they've agreed to work on something the next time, and when they arrive in the session, something's happened in their life that has become the main focus. And so everything goes out the window because the client is arriving full of emotion because this thing is happening in their life, and they actually want to dedicate that session to exploring that because it has got relationship to the professional goal that they're working on, but they actually would really benefit from using the space and the relationship to focus on that.
Mm. So the emotion coaching model is an acronym. I'll just talk briefly through what it is, as give Jo a chance to settle herself into the conversation. So the E stands for engaging in the coaching contracts. You could think of that as a bit of contracting specifically around emotions. M is about making contact, so inviting the client to really somatically explore what is happening for them. O is about the opportunity that the client can take from learning about those emotions. T connects with a different sense, which is more the thoughts that are happening in regards to the context and the connection with those emotions. I is about intuition, so inviting your client to be able to drop in and explore their intuition. O is about outcomes, and N is about now. So that's what we're going to model as we go through. And we hope you enjoy the demonstration. So, Jo, do you want to start by sharing the context,
Hmm.
and we can take it from there?
Yeah, and I should just say that this isn't scripted. This is something live that's happening, and so we thought it'd be useful to bring to a demo because we know coaches love demos. So, um, we bought our current house as our the house that we would live in forever. Not definitely, but we could, our forever home. And some things have happened over the last year that have just started to shift our relationship to it. So we could still live happily ever after here. We're very fortunate. It's a beautiful place where we live, and we renovated our house, so it works for us. But we started looking for houses, as you do, and it's very specific what we would be looking for. And so we found a house and we put an offer in, and it wasn't accepted. And this morning, after a period of time, we had a phone call to say that they would accept an offer that probably is just about in reach for us. And so now we're in the situation of where, like, we've got to decide, are we going to press go on this, and everything that all the change that would mean for us. So I could really do with some help in working that through so that I can be clear around, or at least clearer around, whether that is something that we're going to do. Because I'm very conscious that, when you consider moving house, it affects a lot of people.
Mm. So sounds like you're looking for some support to help you to come to clarity around your decision. What needs to happen for this to be really useful for you today?
I think it's just an open space to be able to speak freely and, not judge anything I say as being that's the thing, because this is very fresh. So a space where I can have a stream of consciousness, and there's no predetermined outcome of where I'm going to get to at the end of the conversation.
Okay. So in that sort of freedom, what level of support and challenge would be useful for you?
I'm open to it all.
Okay. Bring it on.
Yeah.
All right. So you've sort of alluded to this being a really important decision. What emotions are you experiencing connected to this?
Well, when my husband actually took the phone call from the estate agent, and when he shared the news with me, I think I was shocked. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting them to come back with exactly what they did. So all of a sudden, there's like an immediacy that I wasn't expecting to have to face into today. I felt I felt all the veins around my heart dilate, and I don't know what that means, which is part of the reason I thought this might be a good topic for today. So I think there's naturally some fear or trepidation in there. There's a lot of excitement. Um, there's a lot of wondering, have I manifested this? Have I got my manifestation powers back? Is this going to be good for us in the long term? And I'm not, you asked me what emotions I'm feeling. So if the question I'm asking myself is this going to be good for us in the long term? That is doubt. It's inquiry, it's fascination and curiosity, it's um, it's care. It's giving wanting to give due care and attention to this. So those are some of the things that are coming up for me, and I'm aware there may be a whole load of other stuff that I can't quite make contact with yet.
Mm. Yes, I'm hearing you say, a number of emotions there, doubt, shock, fear. But I also heard you say that the veins in your heart dilated and you don't know what that's about. So
Mm.
I'm just going to invite you to sort of tune into that for a moment and see if you can make contact with, if there's any wisdom there from your heart space around what that is about.
Well, when you are at the time, I thought it was fear, but when you asked me the question, then the word that came into my mind was relax, and then I was like, oh, like even the possibility that I could be relaxed about this, like in the sense of, like a forever home. And I don't know whether it could be our forever home. That's one of the things, is it might mean that we'd need to move again in the future. But anyway, but that the relaxing bit is that, like, what there's a sense, and I think for us anyway, in putting an offer in on this home, it was because we had a sense of we were always supposed to be there, because it's a massive move. So I think you've got to have a little bit of that in order to put that out there. So I think the relaxed bit was like being able to relax that we were going to get to go there, in which is one version of the life that we could have over the next
Mm.
however long.
How do you feel about making contact with that emotion?
Well, I think it's quite funny because I was thinking it's not really an emotion that I spend a huge amount of time experiencing. I am able to relax and I am able to have those times, but I I have a very active brain. So and if we buy this house, the issue is it wouldn't be relaxing because we would have work to do, whereas we've kind of done the work here. So, in a practical sense, it wouldn't be relaxing. So, I think it's more around, is there a possibility that um, there would be a sense of psychological relaxing there? I
Mm.
don't know.
So you've mentioned shock, fear,
Mm.
doubt, relaxing, curiosity, lots of,
And
emotions
excitement.
and excitement. And you also said there's some maybe that you hadn't been able to make
Mm.
contact with yet. Is there a priority emotion for you that is, in your body or on your mind as we step into this conversation?
I think one of the things I'm wondering is, What are all of the other emotions that are like excitement that I could just check in with to see if they are present? And, for anybody that's familiar with the feelings wheel, I'm thinking people always say, oh, there's not very many positive emotions on there. And I'm like, I'm sort of in a little bit of that right now. Is like, how can I open up and just check it, lean into and check if all of the things related to excitement, like joy and all of that are there.
Okay. Should you want to start there?
We can.
So playing that back to you then, so you mentioned, a curiosity around what you're describing as positive emotions. So, I invite you to tune into your body. What are some of the unexplored emotions that are coming up for you in that space?
Well, I've just got the A version of the feelings or emotions wheel up, thanks to Google, on my screen. And if I just look at the happy section on there, we've got playful. I don't think I really feel it's a tiny bit of playfulness. Like I'm playing with the idea of this house, but I'd say that's like 1 or 2%. Content is no, I don't feel content. I feel a bit upended. Interested. I am really interested in how this has come about. I couldn't have foreseen us being in this situation 2 years ago, really. So
Mm.
I am interested in it and what it could mean. Proud. I am. I do. Do you know what? I do actually feel. I feel proud and privileged that we are in, even have this opportunity. Like we've created it and we've been able to create this opportunity. Accepted is on there. I think I am struggling to accept the reality that we could have this. Um, I do think there's something around that. Um, Hopeful. I think I do feel. I think the original offer, like that, we felt hopeful that this could be a really good thing for us as a family. Thinking about what each person in our family, what each of their needs are, and how this home could elevate that even a little bit more. I am thankful. Yeah, I feel thankful that the people that are selling it, and they've been there for 25 years. So I recognize the emotional uplift and process that they'll have been to even get to the point of considering selling their home, which I know that they've loved and cared for. So, I mean, there's lots more there, but that's probably enough for now.
Are there any emotions there that you're denying?
But I think the acceptance, I think I was there's there's that, and optimistic is another word that's here on the wheel in this area, and maybe to some extent there's the optimism that I feel around the life that we could have um, around this property, and then I think I do sense like an internal dampening down of that.
Mm.
So there's some sort of protection in there. I mean, everybody knows, you've got a long way to go. Our house isn't even on the market. So we'd have to put our house on the market. We would be in a chain. There's a long, long way to go to even get to that place. And maybe part of me is like, have I got the energy for that? Like, can I absorb and well, not absorb, maybe that's the problem. Can I tolerate the addition of all of that alongside being a working mum, having my own business, my kids and the age and the needs that they have. So I think that there's some denial there.
Mm. So I think when I hear you talk about your emotions, like it's very busy,
Mm,
there's lots in there. You've got
mm,
excitement and joy and a struggle with acceptance, and then there's a bit of fear and there's some doubt and there's this dampening which you're making contact with. How would you like to feel?
mm. I think I'd probably like to feel like abandonment in the sense of like ignore all of that. Just go for it. Like life is short. Um, I do believe that there's enough safe, this would be a big financial leap for us going from a very secure financial position into a less secure financial position. But I think some of the aspects of the property can safeguard us around, because you never know what's going to happen in life. Um, so yeah, that's my answer.
It's interesting because I noticed you flipped to your headspace when I asked you that question. So you
hmm
talked about, I asked you how you'd like to feel when you described an abandonment.
hmm
And then you started talking about the reasons, and so if I just challenge you again, like how would you like to feel like in your body? What would that abandonment feel like? Can you make contact with that?
Well, the image that came to my mind was being on a roller coaster where you literally are out of control but strapped in.
I was going to say you're strapped in, yeah.
Strapped in, but always wondering if that harness is going to hold you, right? Is it going to come undone? Um, but I think that's like an exhilaration feeling. So maybe that was part of the feeling that I had, around the heart of, the blood vessels dilating. Maybe that was exhilaration and not fear.
Mm, yeah. So you talked about it being relaxed at first. Now you're making contact with some exhilaration. So you're starting to, what I'm hearing is make presence with those more, um, well, you said the word earlier, positive emotions, but those that are
Mm,
more helpful to you in this
mm,
situation.
mm. Yeah, because I don't think I would ever say in everyday life, like I feel exhilarated. Maybe I have like a few times in my life, but it's not part of my everyday emotional language. So I think it's always interesting when words come up that aren't part of that.
Mm,
And if anybody was watching this video, what I noticed that I did when you were asking me there, Zoe, about where I went to my headspace, I was like, actually, what did I do just before that? I was like, I think I looked to the left.
mm,
And then I'm like, who's there? Obviously, no one's here. But I'm like, who am I looking to? Like, it's almost like, the answer in my head at that time was, that's the child version of me.
mm,
So I was like, oh, all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I think that's a thing I do that may, in certain situations, but I hadn't quite clocked. So I just wanted to share that was as a coachee, that's like an insight that I had there.
Well, it's hard to not use that now, and I'm conscious of time. And
All the listeners are thinking, is this how you two talk all the time?
well, yes, is the truth. I'm going to stick to my script, Joe, or at
hmm
least try and give the semi structure. If this was a real coaching conversation, I'd totally work with that with you.
hmm
But I
Yeah.
think the next section is around thoughts, and I think that this is probably a good space to bring some of that in anyway. So,
hmm
so we've talked about the different emotions, and you shared there some reflections that you're having about your younger self. What are you noticing about your thoughts?
My younger self's thoughts or my current thoughts?
What's most helpful to you?
My current thoughts are I think they're naturally in conflict. Like, this is an amazing opportunity. Oh my goodness. This is like a gift on a plate. And then there's the other thought of like, oh my God, the mortgage, the monthly payments. What are we not going to be able to do? It's like, so we'll be able to do some things, but we might not be able to do other things. Um, I suppose my thought then just now, like as I'm saying those things, is thinking about I haven't even contemplated properly leaving this house.
Mm,
So I noticed, I mentioned earlier, like the process that the other family have been through to get there. Well, my eldest son was 2 and a quarter when we moved here. So we were a 3-person family at that point. We're now a 4-person family. We've had other life experiences that have happened to us here. Like we've had different pets here, and like that. There's a lot that has happened here. So many experiences, and I suppose I'm just recognizing that I would need to want to dedicate some time to really processing that. I mean, being in what I imagine will be a fairly long chain, if we get to that point, is probably going to allow me that, but it would be an emotional upheaval
mm.
for us to move. So that's a thought that's just occurred to me that I haven't fully acknowledged, that we've been more focused on the possibility of the newness rather than well, we've acknowledged how much we love our house and how it serves us so well, but we haven't really thought about the emotions of leaving it. So that's a thought there. Um, I think it's the very practical thoughts that are dominating my thinking, really.
Mm. It's really interesting how you talk about your thoughts being conflicted. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, when we started this, you're also sharing your emotions are
Mm-hmm.
somewhat sort of conflicted and jumbled. You also mentioned there in the emotions like a dampening,
Mm-hmm.
and you've mentioned here like other forces at play.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots in this conversation that I would love to delve into, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to move on and
Mm-hmm.
invite you to drop down into your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
sort through the jumble and the busyness of your thoughts and your emotions, and just connect into your instincts and what this is sharing for you.
I think my instinct is we are already living there. That's what my
Mm,
instinct tells me. And I don't even mean so much, like I know that's a weird thing to say. And I don't even mean it so much as like we are actually already physically living there. There's something else around maybe where we are mentally. Like when I say we, like my husband and I, and we've involved the children in looking at some other properties. So we've taken them on this journey with us around could we move, would we want to, and so on. But that's the voice of my intuition is we are already living there.
so what wisdom is available for you from that?
I think my quick answer to that would be there's a sense of safety there. Like I trust my intuition. I feel that my intuition is is good for me.
Mm,
So I feel I do tune into that. So it's useful to tune into that.
okay, great. So what are you learning through this conversation that's new or helpful for you?
Um, I think it's helpful for my nervous system to have a space to explore this with somebody that isn't my husband. That's also, we're in it together. Like it's more emotional. It's really helpful to go through and explore it in it's not a linear way, but like in a flow. So I enjoy like being able to expand my processing out and then to contract it back in and expand it out and contract it in. If you think about going through those different parts of the conversation that we've just had there. So I feel there's more calmness coming through that I'm able to connect with about it. A big doesn't have to be a big thing right now. Like just actually centering back into, okay, so we've got an opportunity to say yes. And then we can take the next, logical step from that. And that's enough. That's okay.
Mm.
And we can have the conversations around emotionally, what would it mean for us to leave this house? And as a check-in around that. And I think that would be a really nice conversation to have.
So you came into the conversation looking for space, and it sounds like that's where you found yourself. So what now?
Well, I think we're going to say yes to the offer. Who knows where it will go from there? I think we'd be silly not to. I think there's just some of the strategic things around, like, do we try and negotiate anything else as part of that? But in essence, I think I knew that we would say yes, but I feel that I can say yes from a different place,
Mm.
which feels good. There is the issue that I absolutely love my office that I'm in right now, and the office space I would be in that property would it just wouldn't be as nice as this is. So that would be a sacrifice. It would be different, but I would really miss this view. But actually, that's okay. It's the bigger picture of what it could offer. So thank you. And
Ah.
I hope for people that have been listening, I mean, this was obviously about the potential of like buying, or at least accepting an offer on a new property and some of what that would mean. But I think probably what I was describing, and some of the emotions and the thought patterns are relevant to other life decisions, whether you're, moving jobs, thinking about ending a relationship or entering a relationship, and, lots of different life transitions. So yeah, I hope it's been helpful to you. For some of you, it might be helpful more as the coachee than the coach, but other way too.
It's funny when you do these demos because there's so many different places I would love to have, you know, explored in that conversation. Drawn out different themes and patterns and insights, working with metaphor. But I'm like, we've got to do something that's palatable in a period of time. But I hope what that demo shows is actually how safe it is to hold space for emotional expression and an emotional exploration without having to be fearful of digging up unseen wounds, or emotions are both light and I was going to say dark, but I don't want to use the word dark. Emotions can be light and it can be freeing, and really emotions coaching comes from the perspective of emotional freedom and helping clients to reach a place where they have a clarity and they have a choice and they have the ability to understand and gain wisdom from their emotions. And I hope that demo gave a little slice of that today.
I would not have found a conversation about the practicalities particularly helpful. Like
Mm.
I can work through the practicalities on my own as a client, where the value is always for me as a client is really around the emotional parts of things, and it's not a solving. So I didn't come to that conversation today. I didn't need anything to be solved. What I needed was a space to be held for me, like with respect, with non-judgment, with care and interest, and um that sense of freedom within it. And those are the spaces that we love to hold for other people too, because we, as coaches, we know that people have got so many answers within themselves, but what they don't often have is the spaces to be able to explore it. And so if I was a client, I would absolutely pay for that, and I would absolutely want more. But hopefully with the demo, we're able to kind of peel back the curtain, if you like, for you to be able to see what some of the content or the essence of the content in our emotions coaching practitioner training, which has demos on all of the activities that you can watch as many times as you want to. And then obviously you have the opportunity to practice, and both as coach and coachee, and experience them for yourself. So you get to have the emotions coaching through the program, which is highly valuable in itself.
So, if you enjoyed today's podcast and you enjoyed this coaching demonstration, and we know that coaches love demonstrations, we have another one available for you. So, you can come and look at another particular tool in our emotions coaching portfolio, and you can find a coaching demo of me and Joe modeling another one of our techniques at the URL igcompany.co.uk/emotions demo.